Good afternoon. Hey, it's Saturday. It's a little after 3 o'clock, and it's time for the Ask Dr. Ernst Show, the show where pounds are shed, disease is dead, and where you can be set free from your health problems. I'm your host, Dr. Ernst, and I love that today we get this amazing opportunity to continue the conversation for natural health, natural healing, and you becoming your own doctor. Our topic of the hour today is on reversing diabetes. Goodbye, diabetes. But in order to do that, we're going to have to take a 360-degree different view of what diabetes is versus what we've been told that it is. Okay, so I love that I get to share some information with you. Recent research is now suggesting that type 2 diabetes, elevated blood sugars, with the difficulty of keeping things down with medications, either insulin or all the plethora of diabetic drugs that we have, might be due to an autoimmune condition where your body is attacking the receptor that receives the hormone that allows sugar levels to come down. So we're now learning that it could be an autoimmune condition, it could be a neurological issue, it could be connected to a gut challenge. There's something called your gut diabetes axis. It's the connection between how your liver and your intestines talk to each other, and an inflamed intestine, a leaky gut, can actually precurse and cause type 2 diabetes. So it may not be in your genes. In fact, it almost isn't. It may not be in your family history. In fact, it almost isn't. And it might not be your age. And again, in fact, it almost isn't. Did you know, though, that according to the National Diabetic Statistic Report, over 35 million Americans have been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. That's more than 10%, almost 10% of the U.S. population. Another staggering fact, listen to this. The average diabetic spends on their medical care $13,700 per year managing type 2 diabetes. And people with diabetes often have a health care expenditure annually that's 2.3 times higher than someone who doesn't have type 2 diabetes. So we have more than 10% of the population dealing with their blood sugars, a tremendous amount of money being spent on medications and tests and procedures to try to manage it, 2.3 times the amount of medical expenses, and yet it's a condition that if you find the underlying root cause, can actually resolve and go away. It is completely preventable and reversible. And along with diet and lifestyle changes, you can actually reduce your degree and your likelihood of developing it significantly. So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about some steps and techniques that you can lower your blood sugars quickly, including some traditional therapies, some vitamins and nutrients, and some of the other areas that you may not even think about focusing on and how they connect to your blood sugars. Yet, at this token, I don't want you to tune out and think that, well, I don't have diabetes, I haven't been diagnosed, so this show isn't for me. Approximately another 35 million Americans are walking around with what's called prediabetes, i.e., they have early onset diabetes, but they don't know about it because the traditional tests only look at two numbers, your fasting sugar and something called your hemoglobin A1C. Now, if you have diabetes, you're going to, oh, yeah, they're constantly looking at that. And they're always telling me, I got to get this down, and I can't figure out what to do with it. You're going to learn today how to lower those drastically. Fasting blood sugar is supposed to be, for health, less than 90. Yet, some of you are in the mid-90s to 100 range, and that's going to be considered normal. But yet, pre-diabetes is if your blood sugar is between 100 and about 125. So do you see the challenge here? It's not diagnosed. It's not labeled type 2 diabetes unless your fasting blood sugar is north of 126 and your A1C is north of 6.5. Now, A1C is a measurement of the percentage of your red blood cells that have been sugar-coated. Think of it like a donut. How many of your red blood cells look like donuts and have a glazed sugar coating on top of them? What percentage by volume? If you have more than 6.5% of your red blood cells coated with sugar and the hemoglobin that's on them, then we would say, gosh, that's a type 2 diabetes. So watch this. If your range is between 5.7 and 6.4, you won't be labeled as a diabetic, but that's pre-diabetes. It's happening without you knowing it. And some of you will say, well, I'm at 5.6, so I'm good. Well, that's still early onset. The healthy ranges, okay, jot these down. Healthy ranges for your blood sugar levels. A1C less than 5.4. Fasting blood sugars less than 90. If we can pull that off, then you're healthy. If we can get you to 5.7 or less, or 100 for your fasting blood sugars or less, now your doctors are going to say, oh my gosh, you no longer have diabetes. And all of that is possible when you realize it's a resistance at the cellular level to your insulin landing on the receptor to tell your cells open up and take the sugar and make energy out of it. And it's caused by neurological issues, toxicity issues, and a new connection to an autoimmune condition where your body's attacking the receptor itself. So I've only got an hour for this, but guess what? I'm hosting an entire webinar on solving type 2 diabetes, lowering your cholesterol, lowering your triglycerides, helping you to lose 20, 30, 40 pounds. We talked about this one last week. It filled up immensely, but guess what? It's a webinar. We have tons of space. So if you are sticking your fingers regularly, looking at your blood sugars, pick up the phone and call 704-906-2094. The webinar is completely free, and I promise you, you're going to find out how to lower your sugars drastically and heal. If your cholesterol is high, if your triglycerides are high, if your blood pressure is high, those are all side effects of having elevated blood sugars. Maybe it's a pre-diabetic region. Maybe we need to do some testing and figure it out. I'm going to show you, and we're going to even talk about some free tests, guys, free. But it's only for those who attend the webinar. 704-906-2094. When's the event? Next Saturday, August 14th, 10 a.m. in the morning. Free webinar on solving blood sugar, cholesterol, triglyceride issues, and weight loss. Call or text 704-906-2094. 704-906-2094. It's the Ask Dr. Ernst Show. Don't go away. The best is yet to come.
Sterling believes in the science of CBD. Here's 3 great reasons to choose Sterling CBD. Reason number 1, Sterling is pure CBD. Sterling CBD is made from pure CBD isolate. We remove all the THC and unnecessary compounds, leaving only pure CBD. Reason number 2, backed by science. The U.S. Anti-Doping Agency, USADA, has approved CBD for U.S. Olympic athletes, but they only approve pure CBD, like Sterling CBD. Reason number 3, our organic hemp is FDA approved. At Sterling CBD, we quality control test at every manufacturing stage. We start with organic hemp plants and track them to our FDA-registered food-grade extraction facility. Our pure CBD products include capsules, isolates, lotions, and oils. We even have CBD pet products. You can find Sterling CBD at drernstcbd.com. Use the coupon code Dr. Ernst for 20% off your order.
How come there are people who drink a pint of whiskey a day for 20, 30 years, and at the end of it only 20 or 30% become cirrhotic? What happened to the others? And we speculated, we hypothesized, it's the enzyme, alcoholic dehydrogenase made by the stomach. Maybe it's different, maybe it's genes, maybe it's polymorphism. Mm-hmm. The answer appears to be coffee. If you drink that much alcohol and drink 1 cup of regular coffee a day, 20% reduction in alcoholic cirrhosis risk, 2 cups 40%, 4 cups 80%. It's not a license to drink heavily.
Right.
And drink coffee and protect your liver. You could still get Korsakoff psychosis, cardiomyopathy, pancreatitis, kill people on the road,
Sure.
ruin your marriage. but it does protect the liver. It's pretty amazing.
Here's a secret your grocery store does not want you to know. At ThriveMarket.com, get up to 50% off all your organic groceries delivered to your door for free. Shop organic, non-GMO, gluten-free, and paleo. And get a free jar of coconut oil. Thrive Market. Wholesome products, wholesale prices. Get your free coconut oil today only at ThriveMarket.com.
Good afternoon. You're listening to the Ask Dr. Ernst Show. I'm Dr. Aaron Ernst. It's a show where pounds are shed, disease is dead, and where you can be set free from your health problems. Today we're talking about goodbye diabetes, a condition that affects so many Americans, and yet many of us struggle to lower our blood sugars. I've worked with a lot of type 2 diabetics who say, listen, I changed my diet, I've been taking my medications, and I can't seem to get it down under that 120 range. And so by definition, I'm still being labeled as having diabetes. My A1C is not dropping. In fact, they're putting me on medications that's supposed to specifically drop my A1C, and I'm not getting the results that I'm looking for. Time to wake up. Time to realize the underlying root causes. And we're piggybacking off some recent research that is suggesting type 2 diabetes is now possibly an autoimmune condition where your body is attacking the receptors. So I want you to think of this, okay? When you eat anything, fats, proteins, etc., even some carbohydrates, you're going to see an elevation within your blood sugars. And your pancreas is responsible for regulating the amount of insulin that is secreted to help your blood sugar levels come back down. So I want you to envision this. What if you've been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes and you're taking your meds and you're doing your diet and everything, but your body's producing antibodies against the receptor? So here's the receptor for insulin, and it's being attacked. So it goes away. Now the insulin that was secreted by your pancreas is going, well, I just don't have anywhere to land. The cells that I want the sugar to go into to make energy, I can't. There's no doors. There's no locks. I can't unlock it. Okay? The resistance that we start to see is because of the breakdown of the integrity of the receptor at a cellular level. The cell is inflamed, it's toxic, there's an autoimmunity, or it's lost its neurological connection, so it doesn't produce new receptors. This is why the conundrum of type 2 diabetes, when tested, sugars are elevated and insulin is elevated, and we don't understand why. Because if insulin's high, it should be lowering your blood sugars. What we now know is it's a receptor resistance. So I'm going to ask you some questions here to see if this is something that's developing inside of you. Even if you haven't been diagnosed as a type 2 diabetic, it may already be happening. If you're tired, if you're fatigued, if you are lethargic, so it's difficulty moving, it's sort of achy, etc. If you find that you're hungry all the time, if you've got brain fog and difficulty concentrating, if you're gaining weight, specifically in the midsection, right? You got that sort of like, listen, I work out all the time, but that little rim around the below or belly button section just won't go away. That's early onset insulin resistance. If you have high blood pressure, there's a massive connection between that condition and your blood sugars and your insulin resistance. So maybe instead of your cardiologist giving you a pill to lower your pressures down, we should be looking into either measuring your blood sugars, measuring your A1C, and finding out what your potential for type 2 diabetes is. If you have elevated cholesterol, it's connected. If you have these little darker skin spotches on your hands, specifically the upper sort of top part of your hands, they're called age spots. Dark little circles. Those aren't sunspots, guys. Those are advanced glycosylation end products. Age spots, AGE, advanced glycosylation end products. It's where your skin is actually becoming oxidized because of having sugar attached to a protein, and then the sun makes it darker than the other skin in the area. Elevated blood sugars, elevated insulin resistance. How can we find out physically if we have this, okay? I love the fact that labs can give us some answers. We talked at the top of the hour. If your hemoglobin A1C is north of 5.4, I want you to start going, uh-oh, red alert. If it's beyond 5.7, unfortunately, you now have prediabetes. If it's beyond 6.5, that's full-blown insulin resistance. So we need to figure out ways of solving and lowering the A1C. We're going to talk about that today. If your fasting blood sugar is above 90, you should go, uh-oh. If it's above 100, we should really start saying, guys, I'm in the pre-diabetic range. If it's north of 125, that's classic type 2 diabetes or greater when fasting. Here's something fun if you guys want to do a little testing of your own. I want you to eat, but test your sugars before. And what you're going to do here is get your baseline. So we're going to fast our breakfast. We're going to wait till maybe noon. We're going to check our blood sugars and see what the number is. And then we're going to eat a meal. Now, I want you to keep it simple, nothing extravagant, okay? Just eat what you normally would eat for lunch. And then 2 hours later, I want you to repeat this test. And I want you to see how high is your sugar 2 hours later. If it's less than 120, you're in the clear, everything's good. If it's north of 140, I want you to start thinking, gosh, that's early onset. That's pre-diabetes. That's a challenge with my blood sugars. If it's over 200, 2 hours later, you have type 2 diabetes. It's called a glucose challenge test, where you eat food that would naturally make your sugars go up, whatever you would normally have for lunch. And the thing is, it's also trying to help you to see if what you're eating is actually making your body intolerant to the insulin. Prediabetes is a condition that's becoming more rampant, unfortunately, today. And I'm finding it in multiple clients that I work with that come in with whatever condition they have, and we do a basic screening and we go, hey, did you also know that you've got some early onset insulin resistance, which is a precursor for the very condition you have, which is why you probably have what you have. Blood pressure, think blood sugars. Elevated cholesterols, think blood sugars. Elevated triglycerides, think blood sugars. Fatigue, think blood sugars. Depression, anxiety, think blood sugars. Do you see where I'm going with this? Like so many different conditions, we got to start thinking about our blood sugars. So what do we do to start reducing and resolving these elevations that we have? What are some ways to start making our body more sensitive to the insulin so that we can rebuild the receptors, have them start coming back, and letting our blood sugar levels come way down? I'm going to give you what the research says, okay? Many people have heard about this diet called the ketogenic diet, okay? I like it, but I want you to know that you can't just look at the ketones in your urine. I've had a lot of clients and patients say, well, I'm doing the little dipsticks and it says I'm at a 2+, so I'm good, I'm in ketosis. Warning, okay? I want you to be looking at your blood ketone levels. So there are monitors that you can get where you can actually measure the ketones in your blood. And we do this with our clients and our patients because I want you to be educated. Remember, I want you to be at the level of a doctor. Not just 2+, but I want to know, is it 1.2 or 2.0 or 1.6 or whatever your number is, because the inflammation that is present in the body leaves when you get into a ketogenic state. Nutrient-dense foods that are rich in healthy fats, plant fats, things like avocados and chia, flax, hemp, olive, etc., they all help to actually increase the ability for your body to rebuild the receptors on the cell membranes. Why? The membranes are made of fat. If you have a high level of inflammation in your cell tissues, it covers the receptors, it gums them up, and it makes them very difficult for insulin to land on it. So by going through an anti-inflammatory sort of higher ketogenic diet, glucose levels will start to decrease over time. The cell membranes begin to repair, the insulin receptor starts to grow back to a degree, and now the sensitivity starts to work, and you push sugar into the cell, which brings the level of blood sugars down. Chronic inflammation has been linked to being the number one cause of diabetes in the first place, and this high anti-inflammatory sort of ketogenic diet can actually help you to bounce back from that. So what are some of the best foods that can lower your blood sugars fast? Okay? Any of those healthy plant fats I talked about. Avocado, coconut oil, olive oil, coconut butter, coconut milk, free-range pasture-raised eggs, grass-fed butter. All of these help to elevate your ketones and help to reduce the inflammation at the cellular level. But we need to recognize that we have to get rid of foods that turn into sugar while we're doing this. I think it makes sense. If you want your blood sugars to go down, you need to stop eating things that turn into sugar. Now, almost everything that the classic American is eating turns into sugar. Look, I pulled up online the diabetic diet chart according to, I guess this is diabetes.org. I want you to listen to this. They're recommending that a diabetic consume 250 grams of carbohydrates per day. I'm going to tell you that is an outrageous amount of carbohydrates for a type 2 diabetic. They want only 15 grams of fat. So I'm going to propose to you that you switch those, that we shoot for 200 grams of fat and we shoot for 15 grams of carbohydrates so we can flip the tide. Where is all these carbs coming from? Well, the classic recommendation is a high grain, high fruit diet. Believe it or not, even the Endocrine Web Society for Diabetes says fruits and vegetables should be a half of the plate, with a quarter of it being fruit, pure sugar. Another quarter of the plate being grains. That's starches, breads and rice and pastas, potatoes, etc. All carbohydrates. I'm telling you, if you want to reverse your diabetes, you need to get your blood sugar levels down by reducing the carbohydrate intake that you have on a daily basis. So we remove grains. We remove fruits. We remove anything that's of high glycemic index until you can get your blood sugars in somewhat of a normal range. And we replace that with either fermented vegetables because the sugars are out, or the alternative, more natural sweeteners like stevia, monk fruit, etc. So major food sources to focus on if you're a type 2 diabetic. Grass-fed, free-range, wild-caught proteins. Citrus, lemons and limes, avocado oils, green tea, non-starchy vegetables. If it's green, go for it. Wild-caught fish, turmeric, and even ginger, cayenne pepper, apple cider vinegar, fermented food products like kimchis and sauerkrauts, etc. All the healthy plant oils, coconut, coconut butter, coconut milk, etc. And those foods will help your body to heal the cell membranes. And if you're looking for a more expansive list and some diet guides, just go to AskDrErnst.com. Click on downloads. We have our cellular healing ebook, which is absolutely free. But at the same token, many of you have emailed in saying this. Well, I've done that diet. They dropped 20 points, but I need them to go down further. So that's why we have to resolve into looking into neurological control, your gut, your toxicities. We're going to talk about that a little bit when we come back from our next break, but this is the perfect opportunity right now for you to register for my webinar next Saturday. If you've been sticking your finger and you want to stop that, you want to control your type 2 diabetes, pick up the phone and call 704-906-2094. If you want to lower your cholesterol, lower your triglycerides, lose weight, it's a metabolic issue. It's your metabolism that needs a makeover. You don't need to head to the gym. You don't even really need to change your diet. You just got to get your innards cleaned out, and we're going to show you the tests that you can do to find out what your root cause is. 704-906-2094. Goodbye diabetes. Hello lower cholesterols. Goodbye high blood pressure. And adios 10 to 15 pounds. All free for you. Saturday, August 14th, 10 a.m. 704-906-2094. Hey, if you don't want to talk to our call lines because the lines look like they're busy right now, text your name and your email. That's all we need. 704-906-2094. It's the Ask Dr. Ernst Show. We'll be right back.
Sterling believes in the science of CBD. Here's 3 great reasons to choose Sterling CBD. Reason number 1, Sterling is pure CBD. Sterling CBD is made from pure CBD isolate. We remove all the THC and unnecessary compounds, leaving only pure CBD. Reason number 2, backed by science. The U.S. Anti-Doping Agency, USADA, has approved CBD for U.S. Olympic athletes, but they only approve pure CBD, like Sterling CBD. Reason number 3, our organic hemp is FDA approved. At Sterling CBD, we quality control test at every manufacturing stage. We start with organic hemp plants and track them to our FDA-registered food-grade extraction facility. Our pure CBD products include capsules, isolates, lotions, and oils. We even have CBD pet products. You can find Sterling CBD at drernstcbd.com. Use the coupon code Dr. Ernst for 20% off your order.
How come there are people who drink a pint of whiskey a day for 20, 30 years, and at the end of it, only 20 or 30% become cirrhotic? What happened to the others? And we speculated, we hypothesized, it's the enzyme, alcoholic dehydrogenase made by the stomach. Maybe it's different. Maybe it's genes. Maybe it's polymorphism. The answer appears to be coffee. If you drink that much alcohol and drink 1 cup of regular coffee a day, 20% reduction in alcoholic cirrhosis risk. 2 cups, 40%. 4 cups, 80%. It's not a license to drink heavily.
Right.
And drink coffee and protect your liver. You could still get Korsakoff psychosis, cardiomyopathy, pancreatitis, kill people on the road, ruin your marriage, but it does protect the liver. It's pretty amazing.
Here's a secret your grocery store does not want you to know. At ThriveMarket.com, get up to 50% off all your organic groceries, delivered to your door for free. Shop organic, non-GMO, gluten-free, and paleo. And get a free jar of coconut oil. Thrive Market. Wholesome products, wholesale prices. Get your free coconut oil today only at ThriveMarket.com.
So this is the difference between biodynamic and conventional farming. Let's look at the difference in vineyards here. You have very green grass and herbs and life growing, and then dead soil over here. So this is a conventional vineyard where they spray pesticides, they use a lot of tractors to pull up the soil. This soil is dead, it's dry. There's no life. This is Klaus's vineyard. It's farmed biodynamically. Everything is picked by hand and they don't use any chemicals. So there's life, there's green grass, everything grows. This is the big disparity between conventional farming and biodynamic farming, and you can see it perfectly side by side. We prefer this wine, of course, because this wine is dead. There's nothing living in it.
Good afternoon. This is Dr. Aaron Ernst, and you're listening to the Ask Dr. Ernst Show. Hey, it's a show where pounds are shed, disease is dead, and where you can be set free from your health issues. We're talking today about saying goodbye diabetes, lowering our blood sugars quickly in a safe method to allow us to resolve this condition called type 2 diabetes. So many of us struggle with our blood sugars, and in fact, a lot of Americans don't even know that they have early onset type 2 diabetes. The condition is called prediabetes. It's a state where you haven't been diagnosed, but your blood sugars are north of where they should be. Your A1C is in the ideal range medically, but you're already showing signs of insulin resistance. And how would you know? Well, tired and fatigueness kicks in like crazy. the constant strive for eating foods that are of sweet nature and even sometimes of salty nature, but yet when you eat those foods, you're still hungry. Looking at your levels, if you have elevated blood sugars, we got it. Elevated cholesterol, happening. Elevated triglycerides, it's going on. And watch this, more recently, high blood pressure connected to your likelihood of insulin resistance. So we want to solve this animal and help your cells to regrow the receptors back so insulin lands, sugar enters, is burned for energy, and I'm telling you, man, it's this essence, it's this vitality. We talked at the top of the hour about how you can start going down an elimination program and moving the foods that turn into sugar, which is mostly dairy, grains, fruits. I know, right? Fruits, it's part of the healthy food categories, but if you have insulin resistance, we have to stop making elevated sugar reactions within your blood so you can calm it down and let the cells regenerate and let them repair. We talked about how following a ketogenic diet, that's high plant fats, low carbohydrates, moderate proteins can help your cells to regenerate. And I even mentioned that if you go to our website, AskDrErnst.com, click on the Downloads tab, we have what's called the Cellular Healing Diet ebook. It's free. It shows you the foods to focus on, gives you a ton of different recipes, and it helps you to get into a natural ketogenic state within your body. I left the last segment saying that there's a secret that hasn't yet been discovered by a lot of you on the connection between an underlying root cause where there's neurological interference possibly creating the insulin resistance and or the elevations in insulin, which leads to type 2 diabetes. There have been several case studies that have shown that when people visit a chiropractor to release the stress on their spine, their blood sugars start to drop immensely. Listen to this. This was published in the the Annals of Vertebral Subluxation Research. Resolution of type 2 diabetes in a 67-year-old female patient following a chiropractic care program. This individual, this female, had been diagnosed when she was 40 years old, so for 27 years. She struggled with type 2 diabetes and had to require insulin to be injected. The study says here that after receiving chiropractic care, only 4 visits. Guys, listen to how powerful this is. 4 visits to the chiropractor. The patient returned to her medical doctor and was able to stop taking insulin for her diabetes. Her blood sugar levels remained within the normal limits throughout the rest of her care. 4 chiropractic visits. How is that humanly possible? Well, the liver, which is responsible for regulating and sort of coordinating your blood sugars, it's controlled by the first cervical major nerve, cranial nerves. It's the vagus nerve. Comes out right between the base of the skull and the first bone in your neck. It's cranial nerve 10. It tells the liver and the pancreas sort of what to do and how to do it at an automatic level. Your liver is also controlled by the nerves in the middle of your back, specifically T6, 7, 8, 9. So if you have sort of an ache and a pain and a burning between your shoulder blades, I want you to think that could be neurological interference affecting your liver's function, because your liver both stores and produces sugar, cholesterol, and triglycerides. If you have an elevation in any of those, think liver health. We know the pancreas, which produces insulin, is directly connected neurologically by the same vagal nerve that the liver is. What I often see in patients is a drop in their skull, a closure to the opening where the vagus nerve comes out. It can be detected with thermography and X-ray, and that closure leads to compression to the nerve. And if the nerve is irritated, the insulin starts to come out at a different rate. Instead of it matching what it needs for your blood sugars to stay stable, it can either go elevated or it can drop. Elevations are often what we see in people with type 2 diabetes. So if we look at these studies, they're connecting the relationship between type 2 diabetes and neurological interference. So we have challenges with our diet. We have challenges with our spine. Next, we have challenges with some of the basic nutrients that we need simply to make the insulin receptors work. And I'm talking about vitamin D. Last week, we spent a whole hour discussing how important vitamin D is for every major function of your body, including cholesterol, blood pressure, and blood sugars. And what vitamin D does uniquely is it helps to regulate the sensitivity of the insulin receptor. So if your vitamin D levels are low, the sensitivity drops, and it's very hard for insulin to land on the receptor and activate the pull in to get your sugar into your cell for it to burn. I typically take at least about 5,000 to 10,000 units of vitamin D, me personally, just because we want to keep our relationships of vitamin D north of 70. So if you have type 2 diabetes, I'd highly recommend get your vitamin D levels tested, and let's take a peek and see, can you boost those and see your blood sugars drop, because they often do. Did you know that chromium piconolate, when taken at about 200 micrograms 3 times a day, the Journal of Diabetes Technology and Therapeutics reviewed 13 different published studies that showed that there was a significant reduction in blood sugar and cholesterol and triglycerides when they started to add chromium piconolate into someone's diet when they ate. It's an extremely inexpensive supplement. It's available almost everywhere, and 200 micrograms is such a small amount. Here's something that you might consider because it also works really, really well. Taking powdered cinnamon and putting it into an empty veggie capsule and swallowing 1 capsule anytime you eat any food, because the Western University of Health Sciences out in California found out that consuming cinnamon with a meal significantly decreases plasma glucose levels and lowers your LDL cholesterol and lowers your triglycerides and, get this, elevates your HDL cholesterols at the same time. The raw power of a spice. It is difficult to take directly. This stuff is like on fire when you put it in your mouth. So what we do is we put it in an empty veggie capsule. We fill it up to the brim with some powdered cinnamon, and you swallow it when you eat your meals. It helps to regulate your blood sugars and helps to decrease the effects of the rise in sugars when we eat our foods. Increases the sensitivity and helps your body to heal. Hey, listen, if you are a type 2 diabetic and you've been trying everything, even some of the suggestions I mentioned is not working yet, we got to keep going deeper into root causes. We have to look for autoimmunity. We have to look for toxicity. My webinar next Saturday, not only are we giving away some free tests to find out how to heal yourself, but the event itself is free. Saturday, the 14th, I believe it is, at 10 a.m. in the morning, and it is 100% free for you to attend. 704-906-2094. 704-906-2094. We'll see you guys in just a moment.
Sterling believes in the science of CBD. Here's 3 great reasons to choose Sterling CBD. Reason number 1, Sterling is pure CBD. Sterling CBD is made from pure CBD isolate. We remove all the THC and unnecessary compounds, leaving only pure CBD. Reason number 2, backed by science. The U.S. Anti-Doping Agency, USADA, has approved CBD for U.S. Olympic athletes, but they only approve pure CBD, like Sterling CBD. Reason number 3, our organic hemp is FDA approved. At Sterling CBD, we quality control test at every manufacturing stage. We start with organic hemp plants and track them to our FDA-registered food-grade extraction facility. Our pure CBD products include capsules, isolates, lotions, and oils. We even have CBD pet products. You can find Sterling CBD at drernstcbd.com. Use the coupon code Dr. Ernst for 20% off your order.
What if we told you coffee was good for you?
Coffee is the single highest source of antioxidants in the Western diet. More antioxidants than kale, more antioxidants than 70% dark chocolate, and more antioxidants than blueberries.
In fact, what if we told you that coffee is really good for you?
Research shows that 3 to 5 cups of coffee per day dramatically enhances performance in high-intensity exercise, improves memory, reaction times, and overall cognitive function, decreases risk of depression, promotes weight loss by boosting metabolic rates, reduces risk of type 2 diabetes up to 40%, decreases risk of liver cancer up to 71%, reduces risk of Parkinson's up to 30%, and decreases risk of Alzheimer's up to 65%. Overall, coffee drinkers live longer. People who drink 3 to 5 cups of coffee per day have about a 15% lower risk of premature mortality compared to people who don't drink coffee.
Good afternoon. It's Saturday, and you're tuned in to the Ask Dr. Ernst Show. I'm your host, Dr. Aaron Ernst. Thanks for joining us. We're talking about goodbye diabetes, the idea that we can actually take control of our blood sugar reactions by going deeper into looking at the underlying root causes of what creates insulin resistance. The one thing I've seen is that many people with type 2 diabetes will say, I've tried to work on my diet, I'm following my doctor's recommendations, I'm doing everything right, I can't seem to get my sugars, though, under 100. And it could be partly because we're taking the wrong approach. We mentioned this at the top of the hour, that elevated blood sugar is not the cause of type 2 diabetes, it's the symptom. What's causing the reaction is typically a resistance at the receptor. So insulin is a hormone that's secreted by your pancreas. It has to land on your cell through a receptor complex. So it's a protein. So the hormone lands. The receptor opens up a floodgate to allow sugar to get into the cell, and then the cell turns the sugar into energy. This is why most type 2 diabetics will say, I'm just tired all the time, I'm fatigued. The excess sugar is turned into fat, and it's often stored in organs, like around the pancreas, around the heart, around the liver, in the abdominal cavity. And this is why most people with type 2 diabetes struggle to lose weight. That creates an inflammatory cascade. And this is why a lot of people with diabetes have elevated blood pressures, elevated cholesterols, elevated triglycerides. And so to solve this, we have to stop looking at the individual numbers and blaming them and start going down into the root cause. Where is the receptor resistance coming from? Recent research has pointed out that it's possibly an autoimmune condition connected to the fact that there's a gut or digestive health issue leading to antibody production against the receptor itself. Technically, they're now terming this type 2B, where there is an autoimmune condition state present, leading to destruction of either the cell tissues or the receptor itself. So I'm talking today about how if we get into a ketogenic state, a cellular healing diet, we cut out all forms of carbohydrates, dairy, grains, vegetables that are high in glycemics, and also the fruits, and we focus on sort of the healthy healing plant fats, everything that is absolutely free for you by visiting AskDrErnst.com, click download, then click the cellular healing ebook. The entire diet is listed for you, including recipes and including foods to focus on, shopping lists, etc., all free for you at the website. And then we mentioned that we want to take that and begin an anti-inflammatory process by controlling the amounts of foods we eat. We talked about how the American diabetic, programs are typically high carbohydrates, high grains, and low fats, and you just simply flip that. You want to eat probably 10 times the amount of fat as your carbohydrates, keeping your carbs around 20 or less, keeping your fats between 150 to 200 grams at the minimum. We talked about how vitamin D is absolutely essential and crucial for your receptors to work and to open up. And I mentioned some key nutrients that I'm going to keep firing off for you guys that you can use daily to help your blood sugars come down. And it works by increasing the sensitivity to insulin. It makes the insulin work better. Chromium piconolate, 200 micrograms, taken 3 times daily, has been shown in research, according to the Diabetes and Technology Therapeutics Journal, to decrease your sugar response and help with your insulin reactivity. Also lowers cholesterol and triglycerides. Cinnamon, that simple spice that a lot of us don't really use that often, can be packed into a veggie capsule and swallowed every time you eat a meal. And according to the Western University of Health Sciences in California, they saw significant decreases in both blood sugar, LDL cholesterol, triglycerides, and a raise in HDL levels when incorporating a cinnamon capsule into your diet regularly. The Journal of Research in Medical Sciences has connected the relationship between your omega-3 fatty acids. These are the types of oils you get from certain fish and some plants and some seeds, with the likelihood of your insulin receptor not working. Increasing your omega-3 fatty acids, according to this one study, helped to increase proper insulin function, prevented insulin intolerance, there's the resistance, and also reduced inflammation at the cellular level. They've also shown that that omega-3 fatty acids reduce inflammation in your brain and can help you to drastically reduce your risks of having type 2 diabetes. Here's a fun one, alpha-lipoic acid. Listen to this. It's been found to take sugar and help it to be pushed into the cell. So even if the insulin response isn't working and your blood sugars are elevating, you start elevating your alpha-lipoic acid levels, and you can almost push those sugars straight into the cell membranes to allow your body to burn it for energy. It's effective at also increasing the sensitivity of insulin. And watch this. Some studies say if you have a diabetic neuropathy, or you have weakness, or you have pain and numbness from nerve damage related to type 2 diabetes, alpha-lipoic acid can help to reduce and eliminate some of the frustrations of that. If you want to start eating it, it's extremely high in broccoli and spinach, but most of the time you can take it as a supplement, alpha-lipoic acid. Bitter melon extract has been shown in multiple studies to lower fasting blood sugar levels over time and also help to deal with the downstream effects of type 2 diabetes, which includes complications to your heart. That's the cholesterol elevation, the triglyceride elevation, kidney damage, blood vessel damage, neurological issues like diabetic neuropathy, etc. Bitter melon extract, phenomenal. It works exceptionally well. Curcumin, which is the active ingredient found in turmeric, the spice, it is a ancient remedy. It's been shown to be primarily an anti-inflammatory. So what it does is it helps to heal the cell membranes, decreasing the inflammation around the receptors so they become more open and exposed, and allowing insulin to land on top of that. Curcumin is also an extremely powerful antioxidant, so it tends to also help with the pains and the aches and the fatigues associated. Glutathione might be one you don't associate with type 2 diabetes, but it is the master antioxidant and master detoxifier. So when your liver is congested and stressed out, trying to deal with all the onslaught of chemicals and pesticides and herbicides and all the things we eat, we start to see decrease in liver productivity. So glutathione can help to get in there and actively clean out a lot of the toxins found within the liver. Glutathione's also been shown to improve your immune response by upregulating the very cells that go after viruses, bacteria, parasites, toxins, and pollutants. It's a main precursor against fighting against autoimmune disease. And the big thing right now is we know that type 2 diabetes is being labeled as an autoimmune condition, where the body's attacking the insulin receptor, thus making it difficult for it to work. Berberine is one you should also consider. There have been studies showing, listen to this, according to a 2019 study, they looked at multiple published articles and did a meta-analysis. Berberine was better than taking a placebo in lowering blood sugars, and it is even more effective when they find it combined with people who are already taking a medication. So the translation is this: if you're taking a medication for type 2 diabetes and you're seeing your blood sugars come down but not down enough, add some berberine and you see it drop even further. If you're not taking a medication at all, and they do this study where they say, okay, we're going to give you something that's going to lower your blood sugars drastically, berberine worked better than the placebo effect across the board. It also has been shown to decrease cholesterol and triglycerides and high blood pressure, and it can have an effect on helping to heal the heart, the kidney, and the liver with associated issues of type 2 diabetes. Another major factor is many of us are just missing key nutrients that we need because of lack of really good, high-quality vitamins. A multivitamin is essential these days. Even if you eat a really clean, nutrient-dense diet, our depletion of the soil and the poor processing and packaging of even a lot of organic and healthy foods has led to a decrease in certain key nutrients. One of the most important for energy is your B vitamin complexes. But yet, most people take a B vitamin that is almost impossible to absorb. If you are not using what are called pre-activated methylated B vitamins, then your body is going to have a very difficult time absorbing them and turning them into their active state. About 30% of the human population has a deficiency at a genetic level to be able to absorb B vitamins. It's called a methylation defect. The enzyme that's activating it, MTHFR, is sometimes deficient in a lot of us. And if you have this mutation, which again, 30% of Americans have, it's extremely difficult to absorb your B vitamins and help your body to regulate the energy production that you need. So making sure your multivitamin has methylated B vitamins, has nutrients like chromium or vanadium or even the berberine, and the glutathione and all those other components, the essential omega acids I talked about, would make it so that you're using a vitamin that's more supportive for your health. Now that we are nutrient densing ourselves, we want to start to get into the neighborhood of practicing some intermittent fasting. We talk about this every single week, but it's extremely important for you to understand. To rebuild the insulin receptors, we have to give your cells rest. They need to heal. So if we take periods of time throughout our day where we stop eating, your body's going to be able to start regenerating and healing itself. One of the biggest kickbacks I get when I work with a diabetic is they say, well, my doctor told me I need to eat multiple meals throughout the day, 4 or 5, 6 times, or that breakfast is the most important and I should never skip that. Just go ask them how many people have they seen get rid of their type 2 diabetes. Okay, so the advice, I understand, I see it, but it doesn't work. So what we do instead is we ask you to cut back on the amount of food you eat within the morning times from when you wake up and wait until the afternoon to start eating. Check your blood sugars. Many of you will say, oh, they're coming way down. I'm feeling fatigued and tired and achy. But yet, ready for this? It's probably still an elevation when you actually ping your sugars. Let your body fast the numbers down by not eating and then get to the zone of about noon, 12, 1, 2, 3, and start eating your lunch then and take your entire day's meal of food with the new diet I've taught you and pack it in between about a 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. range. That version of intermittent fasting has been shown to help balance your insulin, increase the sensitivity, help you to lose weight, and it's a great way to regulate your diet to allow your cells to begin to heal. Because of the fact that we now know that an autoimmunity is present, it is absolutely vital that you start paying attention to your gut and your gut health. Collagen, aloe vera, bone broths, glutamine, N-acetylcysteine, glutathione. These are all amazing nutrients that help your body to repair your cell membranes in your intestines, just as much as adding healthy probiotics and other fermented foods. Look at the time fly by like that. Goodbye diabetes. But yet, if you want to go even deeper and find the root cause of your health issue, so we can tell you, should it be a diet? Should it be a detox? Should it be a neurological aspects? Join me next Saturday at 10 a.m. for my Solving Diabetes webinar. Goodbye metabolic syndrome, lower blood sugar, lower blood pressure, lower cholesterols and triglycerides. Saturday, August 14th, 10 a.m. in the morning, absolutely free, but you have to do one thing. Pick up the phone and call 704-906-2094. You can also text your name and your email, and then I'll join you on that live webinar. We're going to show you how to solve that health issue, lower your sugars, your cholesterol, triglycerides, and guess what? Weight loss like crazy. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next week. Until then, be blessed.